Hello everyone, my name is Sandra Phillips. I'm a shared mobility architect and the founder of movmi. movmi is an award-winning boutique agency specialized in the design, planning, and launch of new shared mobility services. We have co-created over 50 car share, micromobility, or mobility as a service projects worldwide. Berlin has always been the epicenter of mobility concepts, and last year's Jelby launch proved that again. So I would have loved to join you in Berlin, but that's unfortunately not possible this year. So instead, I would like to take you on a tour of Vancouver, my hometown, in a minute to show you what a resilient ecosystem looks like. Mobility is a vital aspect of our lives, and the past decade has shown us plenty of innovative ideas. We had connected electric Cybertrucks, shared Uber helicopters, autonomous e-scooters that pick you up where you live, even a subscription app that is the Netflix of transportation. So truly, we've seen innovation at its best solving core problems of our life. Yet the pandemic has also unearthed some of the inherent flaws of our current transportation. Work from home essentially has slashed trip volumes by 75% across the globe, leaving our roads and public transit buses blissfully empty. These plummeting demands also meant consolidations, service suspensions, and closures for many shared mobility providers. So clearly, the way we thought and innovated in transportation had very little flexibility to survive a setback like the current crisis. So how do we increase resilience in transportation? Well, let me take you on a walk to one of my favorite parts of Vancouver, Stanley Park. Stanley Park is Vancouver's oldest and largest park. One of its central features is the close to 300 hectares of coastal temperate rainforest. It provides a green refuge for anybody visiting the city, but specifically also for my family to explore an impressive patch of nature within walking distance from our apartment building. The forest is also incredibly resilient. It has survived major logging in the early days of settlement, a constant increase of human activity in the city of Vancouver, and then not to mention a devastating windstorm at the end of 2006, beginning of 2007. So what are the key elements of this wonderful example of resilience? Well, first, you have reduced vulnerability because it's an incredibly diverse and complex ecosystem. So you can find century-old tree trunks next to a 15-story tall living Douglas fir tree next to fallen logs. All of this complexity reduces vulnerability when adversity hits. The second important piece is connecting the different ecological systems to increase specifically wildlife activity. Stanley Park Forest connects rainforest with wetlands and rocky outcrops and shrub forest edges at the edge of the park. The park board has enhanced these areas in the past years because they are highly valuable for wildlife. The third and last point is reducing stressors. There is an active forest management plan in place, and part of that is, for instance, removing and controlling invasive species because they decrease the overall resilience of the entire ecosystem. So how do we now translate the success of Stanley Park's ecosystem to our transportation network? Well, similarly, we first need to increase the complexity of the system by increasing diversity of modes. So creating choice and promoting diverse modes of vehicles, various sizes, various geographical areas where they operate in, is crucial. Cities that have lots of choices outside of the traditional public transit system, for For instance, they have lots of bike share or scooter share or even moped share or on-demand buses, are much more resilient when a crisis hits. You in Berlin are very fortunate. You have a plethora of options at your fingertips. But even here in Vancouver, we're not too shabby. We have 2 car shares with over 2,000 vehicles combined. We have 1 bike share, quite large, with about 1,800 bikes. We have public transit that covers bus, vanpo, SkyTrains, ferries. And we, as of most recently, also have 2 ride-hailing companies. Obviously, we could do more. I wish we had some on-demand shuttle buses. I also wish we had a kick scooter program. That's still missing. The second point is also connecting the different systems. Increased complexity is great, but if it stays disconnected, it cannot be considered an ecosystem, and it's actually not very user-friendly. So to create such an interconnected system, we have to collaborate between private and public sector. So we have to build trust between those 2 entities. And so for the city of Vancouver, we have built a public-private partnership between 2 car share, 1 bike share, and the public transit agency. And we have currently a pilot up and running called the Shared Mobility Compass Card. Obviously, again, you in Berlin are a little bit further ahead than we are with Jelby, which is really, you can use it, as anybody living in Berlin can use that program. Ours is still a pilot program and has a long way to go. And then the last and third piece is reducing the stressors also through active management and regulations. The regulatory bodies should really create frameworks that look at alternative transportation options holistically. So don't just individually, regulate and think of it as a whole ecosystem and how do they interplay with each other. But also look at it from a regional perspective rather than, every individual city does their own little thing. So for instance, for ride hailing, we have an intermunicipal license in place that regulates how Uber and Lyft is managed, not just in the city of Vancouver, but in the entire region. So the pandemic has shown us the cracks in our current transportation system. And to rebuild tomorrow's mobility, we need a transportation network that is multimodal and interconnected. We need more resilience in the transportation ecosystem so we can continue to provide access to services for our residents, reduce our region's carbon footprint, and remain the circulatory system for our local economy. So my vision is a mobility ecosystem that withstands the test of time, similar to Stanley Park Forest, a century-old, vibrant coastal rainforest of significant beauty. I hope you enjoyed our virtual walk of Stanley Park. I'm available from 5 to 6 p.m. today, your time, on Twitter. Handle is @shared_mobility for an Ask Me Anything session. So head on over to Twitter, ask me anything related to Vancouver, to Stanley Park, to my love of Berlin or Paris, or Share Mobility, and I look forward to continue our conversation there with you. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your time at Shift Mobility.